there everyone! Welcome back to the table once again. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you the following public service announcement. Thank you. Hi there everyone. Welcome to the table this evening, and I'd like to kind of discuss with you something that's come across my radar, and I'm not sure if you guys have been paying much attention to this, but I thought, you know, we're very, very close to its release date, so I thought I would give you sort of a pre-release special. Now, normally on this channel, I like to cover board games, hence the name of the channel, Board Game Simplified. It seems pretty self-evident, right? However, this game kind of caught my attention, and I'm sure it's probably caught your attention as well, and I'd just like to take a few minutes of your time to delve into a little bit more and show you exactly what's going on and how you guys can get involved and be a part of something very, very special that's happening, and something very important that's happening as well. So stick with me here. It's a fairly straightforward game, but I'll try to break it down as best I can for you. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the game that I'm going to be talking about to you today is called Government, specifically the Provincial Edition. Now, next year, I've been hearing that they were going to be releasing a Federal Edition of this, but I'm more concerned about the Provincial Edition that's being released June 7th. So just mark that on your calendars. June 7th marks the release date for Government, the Provincial Edition. So be sure to stick with that. Stay tuned for that. It's very, very important. Well, the objective of the game is very, very straightforward. There are 5 different teams. Each team has a leader, and each leader is trying to become the next government. Parliamentary government. Fairly straightforward. So in order to win, they need to acquire the most number of people siding with them by casting what's called a vote. With enough votes, the team leader gets elected to the government and becomes the next leader of the province for the next 4 years. Remember that. 4 years. That's a long time. So the setup of the game is very simple. I'll link a special link down in the description below. In order to play this game, you have to go and set up an account ahead of time. Now, this game is only available for people 18 years and older, and you have to be a resident of both Canada and Ontario in order to participate. But don't worry, other provinces have their own version of this game as well. But for our purposes, I live in Ontario, so I'm going to just be talking to you about the Ontario edition specifically. And how this works is you go to that link down in the description and you register for an account. Now, it's okay if you don't have one already because you can set one up. If you do have an account already, if you've participated in previous versions of this game, well then that's okay. All you have to do is click that link down below and just verify that you are still a member and you still have an active account going, and if not, they can walk you through the steps on how to get yourself re-registered. The good news about this game though is that if you're 16 and 17 years old, you can sign up early. Now this doesn't mean that you can participate, no, but what it means is that over the next 2 years, you will already be primed and ready so that when your account is ready and available, you can access it and you're all set to go. On this website as well, they'll direct you to where your voting location is, basically where you can play the game. And you do that simply by adding in your postal code, and they'll tell you where you can actually go to participate. You can vote via special ballot as well, but we're not really going to get into that. The website down below in the description gives you a great setup on how to participate through a special ballot, but for our purposes, we're just going to talk about the standard procedure, sort of like what most of us would probably have access to. Once you've accomplished all that, you're already registered and all set up, we can delve in and actually figure out how to play this game. The first step to this game is actually researching the teams. I know, it's crazy that you have to do a little bit of homework when you're playing a game like this, but believe me, it is so important to do your research ahead of time. A lot of misinformation can get thrown around the internet and through social media outlets, so it's very important for you to find reputable sources to base your facts and information off of. I will be posting a link down in the description below from the Globe and Mail, which actually gives a pretty good summation of all the different characters and their teams, and sort of what each team represents. But there are, as I mentioned earlier, there are 5 teams. There is a blue team, a red team, an orange team, a green team, and a black team. Or gray, depending on the version that you're playing. But for really more intents and purposes, there's really only 4 major teams that really participate. Usually the 3 teams that really make a big impact are the blue team, the red team, and the orange team. So they're the ones that most people pay attention to. But I mean, again, check the link in the description below and make your own informed decision. I'm not here to tell you how you should be playing the game. I'm merely to tell you that you should be playing the game. So once you've done your research, and you've selected a team that best aligns with your attitude, your outlook on life, and your general sentiment towards society, both within the province and maybe a little bit larger across Canada, now you have to find out where your location is. So as I mentioned earlier, you can type in your postal code and the website will actually tell you where your voting location is. Simply go there with either this handy-dandy voting card, and you can see right here. This gives you sort of a bit of a breakdown here. The only time you'll ever see a rulebook on this channel, kids. And adults. More specifically, adults for this video. And you'll need a piece of ID that shows your full name and your address for verification. Now, if you haven't gone on and established your account, you can do so there as well. You just have to make sure that you're registered to participate via the account. But they should be able to take care of that at your voting location as well. But it's always good to do that kind of work ahead of time. You may have heard me toss around ballot a couple of times. Well, once you arrive at your voting location, the people processing everything will hand you a ballot. And on this ballot, there are a list of maybe 4 or 5 different names that represent all the candidates within your area. Now, here's where it gets a little bit convoluted, and this is where it kind of breaks down a little bit, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. So, in order to win and become the government, a single team has to win a certain number of seats or ridings. Now, they themselves may not participate specifically in your riding, but another candidate or a stand-in does. And essentially, if that candidate who represents that leader's team, if they get enough votes and get elected in, then they win a seat at the parliamentary government, which is at Queen's Park in Toronto. And if enough members win enough ridings or seats within the province, then they form the government. They win. I believe you need about 59 in order to form a majority government, but I'll explain how that works a little bit later. Now, some people may be inclined to sort of break the rules by invalidating their ballot, by voting for multiple candidates, or voting in for your own write-in candidate by, let's say, writing in Bob, and Bob isn't on your little ballot sheet, and crossing that off and casting the vote. That's a great way to prevent other people from playing the game properly, and I really advise not doing that. If there are particular people that you do not like, then vote for the person whom you like the most, I suppose, or make sure to just not vote for the people that you don't like. It's important to do your research ahead of time so you can form your own opinion about who you like and who you don't like, about whose policies match your own way of life and your own perception of the world around you. But I highly recommend not breaking these rules, because really what you're doing is you're detracting a lot of fun from other people, and the game just doesn't become as fun. If enough people do that, it becomes sort of pointless at that stage. So I highly encourage you to select one person who best represents your outlook on life and stick to that candidate. if you end up invalidating your ballot, then you're actually not allowed to participate in this game again for another 4 years. And believe me, it's a long time to not be able to play a game. I'm jonesing to play some of the games I haven't played in 4 years. Believe me, you don't want to sit this one out. And that's basically it. If enough people cast enough votes for people who represent the team that they want to win, and that team ends up winning enough seats at the parliamentary government, well then they win and they're in control. They get to dictate what kind of policies and procedures sort of get enacted through a democratic process, of course, but they by and large get to enact their own policies and have make a lot of broad sweeping changes across the province, and it's up to you to decide which ones really align with you. Absolutely not. There are a couple of conditions that happen if your team actually happens to lose. One of the first ones is you can join what's called a grassroots organization. Now, grassroots organizations are usually unofficial groups of people who sort of align themselves at a local level and try to influence a larger population by having rallies and protests to go up against the leader, the government leader, and what they're trying to enact. There's a lot of instances of some very, very positive grassroots movements and organizations, and I highly encourage you to check some of those out if they happen to align with your views. So we have a first place team. That team wins. But we also have a second place team as well. Now that team forms what's called the official opposition. Now it's the official opposition's job to be a check and balance against the team that won. So let's say the team that formed the government decided that they were going to enact something that would be very damaging to a large portion of the population, or that doesn't seem to align with what Canadian and Ontarian principles seem to be at our core values. Well, it's up to them to garner enough support against that team's leader to stop policies from being enacted. So sometimes it's not the team that you voted for, but it's a team that sort of shares a similar values to what you have. So you're not out of the woods even if your team doesn't win. You still have a check and balance in your back pocket, and that is the official opposition. They can also form what's called minority governments. A minority government is formed when no single team wins enough seats to hold a majority or more seats over the other. Finally, I would just like to say that it's important for everyone to play. We live in a very, very tumultuous time. We live in a very, very scary time where it seems like a lot of people without any clear direction seem to be garnering a lot of attention, and that can lead to some pretty scary situations. Now, again, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you how you should play. Absolutely not. I'm only giving you the rules and the game mechanics so that you can make the best informed decision for yourself. However, it is important that you participate. You have a societal obligation to participate. It is incredibly important. You have a wonderful opportunity here, and it's important that you take that opportunity and make the most of it. Even if your team doesn't win, at least by participating, you have done your job. And believe me, there is still a sense of satisfaction that comes from even just doing your job as opposed to the outcome. So it's important that you play. I really recommend this game. I really do. I also encourage everyone to research a little bit. Do your homework with this. Don't just blindly follow the herd. Don't just jump on a bandwagon because everybody else seems to be antagonistically against somebody else, or are just leaning towards another team leader because they're saying all the right things or sounding like they're saying all the right things. It's very important that you make an informed decision for yourself. The link in the description down below will give you a great resource to check out. But each team leader has their own website as well that you can check out. On a more personal note, I would just like to say that you can never lose by participating in a game like this. As I mentioned, even if your team doesn't win, there are still countless opportunities for you to be involved for the next time this game comes around. It's important. I can't stress this enough. It's important for everybody to participate in this game. We have an obligation if not for ourselves, then for future generations, for anybody that happens to be coming to this province and expects a life of equality and of fairness and of a chance for success. And it all starts with you. Each and every one of you. Don't mess this up.
And maybe our gameplay taught us that it's important to stay green?
Oh, hey, a little green energy message. Oh, we're gonna get the politics up in this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll save that for another video. But anyway,
let us know what you think down in the comments. We would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Would you play this? Do you hate this game? Do you love this game? What games do you want us to play? Drop by, just say hi.
yeah,
Hello. We like friends.
I like friends.
Yeah.
And board games are a great way to introduce people with. You love them or hate them, they're gonna be around.
And that means so will we. So, like us, subscribe to us, follow us on Instagram, Facebook.
All that other fun stuff that'll always be linked down in the description below, as always. Let me know what your thoughts are, and as Jess said, let me know what kind of games you want to see in the future. But stick with me, I promise you, you won't be disappointed, and we will see you at the table next